Welcome everyone and happy Wednesday. We are here with the Revive team today. As you saw, we have a training around their Prepare to Buy program. They're going to go over kind of we'll have like two sections of the webinar. So Jessica's going to talk to us a little bit here and do a presentation, and then John will jump on and also do a portion. So as always throughout, you can ask any questions that you have in the chat, the Q&A, and we will get to those. But Jessica, thanks for joining us. I will toss it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen so we can get started. So this is going to be a training and an update on the most recent changes and updates to the Prepare to Buy program. So I will start out just by saying that I'm Jessica. I'm the Director of Operations here at Revive, and we'll also be able to get you guys, I think, a copy of these slides at the end, or you already have it to send out with the email afterwards. So when we talk about the Prepare to Buy program, I like to start out with saying that still today, there's more cash in the market than ever before. As of, I think it was July of last year, 30% of all home sales are being closed in cash. And so it's still leaving that standard buyer who's contingent on their home selling or an appraisal or a loan at a disadvantage. Now, also, and I think you guys will see this, as the market is changing, while these things still leave the buyers at a disadvantage, there's another advantage to this program that I'm going to get into. So I'll save that thought for a minute. But homeowners who are juggling between selling their current home and locking in their next home, this program is great for. It's also going to be great for that client who simply just wants to make a non-contingent quick closing offer to win that home of their dreams. So we created the Revive process to help those clients with prepare to buy. And the way that this works is we get the client qualified. Revive is going to make a non-contingent quick closing offer on that home that the client would like to purchase. Revive actually becomes the owner. Then Revive rents that new property to the client until their departure residence sells, and then they can buy that house back from us using you guys as their lender. Now, and I kind of touched on it before, we're finding today that with the market slowing down a little bit and that we're seeing the market, become a little more stabilized, we're finding that not only are people getting their offers accepted, but when they're using this Prepare to Buy program, they're able to negotiate a lower price, a lower purchase price. And so we'll get into that there are costs for this program, but we're finding more and more today than ever before that people are not only saving the amount that they paid to use the program, but even more. So I want to keep that in mind, that not only, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we found that people were using this program simply to try and get ahead of the 50 other offers that were coming in. But today, not only are they getting to the top, they're able to negotiate a lower price. So I want to talk a little bit about what the qualification process looks like. So the client does need to have a fully underwritten TBD approval with the plan to purchase the house back from Revive. So that's where you guys will come in the qualification process. We want to make sure that you have them fully underwritten with an actual TBD loan approval where an underwriter has looked at the file so we can set everyone up for success. The client also needs to have 25% of the purchase price of the new home in equity or cash. Revive will either collect that 25% upfront if they have it, or if they don't, which a lot of people don't, especially if they're selling a departure residence. If they don't have the cash upfront and they have it in equity in their current home, we'll simply put a deed of trust on that departure residence and collect the 25% when the departure residence sells. And then we'll get into it in just a moment about what that 25% makes up. So if they want to buy $1 million house, $250,000 of equity is what they'll need in their current residence. We also always want the client to have a consult call with the Revive Prepare to Buy team. We love to have the lender on that call. If the agent can be on it, that's great. Kind of gets everyone on the same page so that we can be sure everyone understands the terms, the fees, and again, just is on the same page. And then when you're qualifying people for this program, you want to also make sure that they do have some reserve funds for the monthly rent that we'll talk about, and the closing costs. So the qualification documents we're going to be looking for: a fully underwritten TBD loan approval. We're going to be looking at a preliminary title report on their departure residence. And mainly all of these documents, we're just looking at to make sure that they can, one, afford the house when they go to buy it back from us, and two, they have enough equity to cover that 25%. So we look at a preliminary title report. Typically the agent is who will provide that to us. We're going to ask the client for a current mortgage statement on their departure residence. If their home is in a trust, we'll ask for trust documents. And then we want to make sure that they are a serious seller of their departure residence. So we're going to look for a listing agreement. If they haven't signed that yet, we're going to want to collect comps so that we can really determine what the value of that property is. And again, just making sure they have the equity that we're looking for. Now, some client responsibilities and some agent responsibilities. So it's going to be the client's responsibility to give the earnest money deposit to title or escrow, typically within 3 days of offer acceptance. Now, even though Revive is going to be the name on the contract, the one buying this property, we want to have the client do all their due diligence up front. So they're going to do their own inspections. They're going to review any disclosure that comes by Revive's desk, basically as if they were the buyer, so that when they come to buy the house back from Revive, they've already done all of their due diligence and they're sure that this is the house that they want. Now, your agent partners not cut out of these deals. The agent who brings the deal and who is representing the client or shopping with the client is going to be the agent who represents Revive on the purchase. So they're never cut out, their commission gets paid, and the agent represents Revive on that initial purchase. We do require that if the client does have a departure residence to sell, that they do have to get that on the market within 30 days. Now, I usually start off these presentations by explaining a little bit about our company and our Prepare to Sell program, which John, our Director of Sales, will be coming on to speak about. But if they are using the Revive Prepare to Sell program, which basically is fixing up their departure residence to bring it to a turnkey position, to sell for more and to sell faster, then there's some leeway that we can give with that 30-day rule of being on the market. You'll learn a little bit more about that program when John jumps on in a few minutes. So let's talk about the costs. And we've all seen interest rates rising and everything that's happening in the market. So our costs have gone up slightly. So this is a little refresher on what the costs currently are for the client. So up front, the client, all they have to do is put the earnest money in. So if they have a departure residence to sell, the only out-of-pocket cost up front is going to be earnest money. Now, the other costs consist of the Revive convenience fee. Today, that fee is 3.25% of the purchase price. Now, we'll talk about just in a second, because of your relationship with Art of Homeownership, you are able to offer your clients a discount, but the standard fee is 3.25%. That gives the client 4 months from the time that Revive buys that home to buy the house back from us. If they need more time, that's totally okay. We just add an additional percent for every 4 months that they need an extension. So 3.25% for the first 4 months, it goes up 1% every 4 months after that. We give a total of 12 months for the house to be bought back. Of course, because of your participation in Art of Homeownership, you're a preferred lender and you get a 1/4 point discount for your clients. That helps keep you in the deal, sticky in the deal. So for your clients, 3% is going to be their baseline. Now, I did mention this doesn't have to be for clients who own a property. There's sometimes first-time home buyers out there who are just looking for a leg up and would like to have that quick closing non-contingent offer. And if they don't have a house to sell and they have that 25% upfront in cash and are willing to give that to Revive upfront, then we give them another 1/4 point discount. We've also rolled out what's called Revive Rescue. So we've run into times when a client is in escrow on a property, their earnest money has been put in, they are at risk of losing that earnest money because for whatever reason they can't close quickly enough. Perhaps they had a house, their departure residence, that was on the market and it had been in escrow and it fell out. Or maybe they were just being aggressive, they put in a quick closing offer and for whatever reason aren't able to execute in a quick enough time. So we created Revive Rescue, where Revive will come in and will take assignment of that contract and close it for them. The Revive Rescue is a flat fee of 3.5%. I know we're getting a couple of hands raised and a couple of, I will definitely be doing a Q&A at the end, but we've also got some moderators looking at the Q&A and chat box. So if you have something, feel free to type it in, but of course we'll open it up for questions at the end as well. So just mention the Revive Rescue flat fee of 3.5% if it's a deal that we need to come in and essentially save. The other costs for this program are going to be the rent that is collected during Revive's ownership. So that is collected on a monthly basis, starting the day that Revive takes ownership. And lastly, something to consider is there are going to be a second set of closing costs. So when Revive buys the property, there are buyer side closing costs. We get reimbursed by the client for those. And then when the client buys the house from Revive, they do pay for buyer and seller side closing costs. We buy a title binder in as many states that offer title binders to lower that owner's title policy cost. But when we're going over the costs with the client, we dive down into each of these costs to make sure that it's right for the client. So Mark is saying on a...
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah,
no,
you were going to read it. Go ahead.
I was, yeah. So Mark is asking, so on $1 million purchase, is your fee $30,000? Yes, the convenience fee to use the program would be $30,000 on $1 million purchase. And again, we'll look at it in some numbers in a minute, but we are finding that with a 14-day close cash non-contingent offer in today's market, that people are easily negotiating 3 to 10% off of the list price. And so oftentimes that can help cover that fee. Yeah, thanks, Mark. So I want to talk now. There's things popping up on my screen. Okay, so when are the fees collected? So when Revive's offer on the new property is accepted, that's when earnest money goes in. So just typical as if they were the buyer themselves. Now, when the client's departure residence sells, that's when the Revive convenience fee is collected. That's going to be where the option fee is collected. The option fee is 20% of the purchase price of the new property. It's collected as collateral, but then it is credited towards the final sale. So that 20% isn't something Revive keeps. We hold on to it as the promise that the client will buy the house back from us, and then we credit it to them on their final sale. They, of course, also get credited the earnest money deposit that they've already put in. We also collect at closing of their departure residence reimbursement for the buyer side closing costs. So that's all collected when their departure residence sells. During the ownership period, rent is paid on a monthly basis. And then finally, when the client buys the new property from Revive, they pay the balance of the purchase price, less the earnest money and less the option fee that they've already paid. And they pay the final closing costs. See. I will touch on, I'm going to touch on this question. We'll touch on it at the end. So I'm giving you a few cost examples here on a $500,000 purchase, an $850,000 purchase, and $1 million purchase. You can see what those costs look like on average. And of course, you can have a copy of this after the call. So some stats, as of July 2021, 30% of all US home sales were in cash. Some parts of Florida, 50%. We're seeing that non-contingent offers are 4 times more likely to be accepted than their contingent counterparts. And our data is showing us that today, on average, people are saving anywhere from 3 to 10% off of list price with a prepare to buy offer. Couple of do's and don'ts on the lender side. We do want to make sure the client is fully underwritten. We want to schedule the Revive agent client consult as soon as possible. You can do that on our website. We're going to want to make sure to check that that client does have the 25% equity plus the reserves. We want you to be familiar with the Revive contracts and really the structure of the sale, the fact that this is a lease with an option to purchase. and that the how that option fee works. I kind of talked about it. You can get into it more when you have a call with one of the Prepare to Buy experts. And we are always saying, you know, present this is great for all different types of clients: conventional loans, jumbo, VA, investors, 1031 exchange clients. And I'll dive into that right now. So, you know, for years, it's been hard for VA, unfortunately, VA loans to compete with others, unfortunately. And we've had a lot of success where, as long as that client does have the 25% equity, so they do need to have that, we have helped a lot of these VA clients get into the house. And then when they go to buy it back from us, that 20% option fee they've put up front, we give that completely back to them. If they're going 0% down, we simply wire them their money back. Same with your clients who maybe at the end of the day, they only want to do a 5 or 10% down loan with you. That's okay. They don't have to put that full 20% towards the purchase price if they don't want to. They have to have it, we have to hold it, but whatever they want to put towards the house is up to them. We simply give the rest of it back to them. That's their money. And 1031 exchange clients, this is great if they're to identify a property ahead of time. We are okay with doing this with investors. We can go, you know, 1 to 4 units, as long as that property is vacant during our ownership. We don't want to be a sublease kind of situation, so it does need to be vacant. The client can't start renting it to anyone until they have bought it back from us. The program this is not going to work for is your FHA loans. There are some rules around FHA loans that I'm sure this team knows about. The business relationship that's created with the lease, and then also the flipping rule. So not the best fit for FHA loans. And we're not wanting to use this as any kind of a long-term rent to own solution. In the past, we'd had 1 or 2 times where we'd had a deal get pushed through, and it turned out that their fully underwritten TBD was not as solid as we had been told. And so they were deciding to use this as a rent to own type of situation, fix their credit. This is not what that's for. This is for people just to help them bridge that gap for well-qualified buyers. So before I end and let John jump in, an attendee has asked, how are we able to compete with the lenders out there that are offering this cash option at 1%, 2%? You've lost some deals to less expensive platforms. Now, there is no doubt that there are some players in the market that are doing this for less. Many of them are lenders, and what we're finding is that while they may advertise a 1 to 2% fee up front, they're getting the rest of it somewhere, usually in their loan fees, somewhere in the loan. So sometimes that's not an apples to apples comparison. Some other things I would say that set this program apart from other, sometimes it may not be the right fit for the client, and unfortunately they may go somewhere else, but we are in all 50 states, which most other companies that are doing this are not. We don't just have to be in the conventional loan limit box. We go, and actually I have one more slide, we go up to $2 million, which most don't. And so I think that there's some place that sometimes maybe it isn't going to be competitive, but in those areas that the other companies aren't in, and if they really want to be able to pick their lender and pick their agent versus some of these other companies that, force you into using them as the lender or force you into using a specific agent, then those are going to be the clients that this is good for. We have updated what we're calling our buy box. So we are buying homes. So homes that qualify are going to be anywhere from 200,000 to 2 million. I will say that there are, exceptions that we can make. We are, we've bought homes upwards of 4 million for some clients, and that's a case-by-case basis. It will depend on how much the client can contribute to the down payment, things like that. So for the standard, it is in the 200 to 2 million buy box. If you have something outside of that, always willing to look at it and see if we can help. We want to buy homes that are on less than 5 acres, non-rural homes. They do need to be in lendable condition. We want them to be in a market that will sell in 60 days or less. We're not buying manufactured homes, no land leases, and we're not buying undeveloped land.
Do you have a question here? David is asking, is there any chance that Revive will eventually create another option to purchase the existing property like Easy Knock does to accomplish the same end goal, but backwards?
So yes and no. So we do have a program, and John may touch on it, but I'll touch on it now, which is called our Sell 360 option. What that looks like, and this is totally in pilot, but what that looks like is Revive will come in and buy a house at 90% of its value. So they've unlocked, gotten rid of their mortgage. They've got 90% of the as-is value of the property in hand. Then what Revive does, so this is going to be for the clients who their house needs a little bit of updating. Revive will come in with our Prepare to Sell program, which is that fix the house up for market. We fix it up, we resell it, and any profits on that are made are split between Revive and the client. So that's the way, not exactly the Easy Knock way, but where a client could get out from underneath their current mortgage, collect 90% of their value, potentially get into their next home. And then if there's profits, when Revive sells the house, we would split those with the client. So hopefully that answers that. That could be an option.
Okay, perfect. And just to know, oh wait, did David have another question? Is there a fee for that as well?
So there is no fee for that. It's simply a profit share. So there's no fee up front, but Revive, any profits are split 50-50 with Revive. And then I'm going to invite, let's see, the last slide is a QR code to download the white paper on this program. We have a great marketing center. We'll touch on it again at the end where you can co-brand material. So that'll be available for you. And we'll tell you about that at the end of where you can go to get that. And then I think we should promote John now to a panelist so he can jump in and speak to our Prepare to Sell program, which is another great value add for your agent partners.
Thanks, Jessica. And just one note, I know we had a question about some of the other lenders that are offering this at a lower rate. I think to what you said, Jessica, like some of the hidden fees that they have, and it's not all up front. I think that's a really good opportunity, basically, like when you're dealing with rate shoppers just for your regular loan, like how we instruct them is like take that opportunity to establish yourself as a true advisor and say, let's like walk through it together and look at all the details of the program to make sure that it's the right fit for you and that they're not hiding anything, etc. So that could be a great opportunity to build trust with the consumer. And if it ends up being a better program somewhere else, then let them take that, but just kind of guide them through it. And I think that's a good opportunity to build some trust.
That's a really great point. It sounds like that QR code on the last page was not working, but we will, in your follow-up email, we'll have a link to the marketing center so you can have all that info. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce John Sellis.
Thanks, Jessica. Welcome, John.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey, good. How are you? Thanks for jumping on.
Good. I don't know if you can see my video or not. I don't see myself. I guess
we can see you. I can see you at
okay.
least. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Well, a pleasure to meet everybody. Maybe for those that we didn't get to meet last time, but my name is John. Quick little background on myself. I've been in this industry for about the last 15 years. Got my license at 18, so just a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's a little bit of my background. Helped join here in Revive in 2020 to really lead our sales team, and it's been a pretty great journey since. But I don't know who's in control of the slides. Is it you, Jess? Or okay, great. So, obviously what we're speaking into today, more on the Prepare to Sell program, which is, similar in some ways to what you've heard at the concierge level of home concierge. But, the problem we're seeing here today, and this will be within the context of, I know that our audience is um, primarily lenders, and so I'm going to speak from the context of, how lenders really build relationship with realtors and the realtor partners to speak more into how you can bring them value. But just, from the prepare to sell portion, this is kind of the problem we're seeing, which is, realtors obviously know that homes need to be ready before putting them on the MLS and getting them ready for market. However, the challenge for agents and realtors is that it's not the easiest thing to get a seller to want to invest that money and the time. And so it's kind of a big ask from agents to do so. And so that's why oftentimes, homes go on the market not ready or as is. And a lot of various reasons, but our goal here is to hopefully help solve this problem of being able to, have these homes be put on the market ready in its best light, which ultimately will result in a much quicker sale and overall larger bottom line for the seller. And so this is kind of the problem we're facing. And in the next slide, kind of what ends up happening is, and the way that agents are doing this now is if they do end up convincing the seller to be able to do these renovations, the following happens. Number one, the realtor ends up getting stuck being the contractor. The realtor ends up being the project manager. Again, some realtors, this is part of their value proposition already, and they're doing this, and that's great. But it is quite a bit of work. You have to get design involved. You're helping them source those materials, the color of tile, flooring. I mean, that's on top of already the other roles as a realtor that they're playing. And so it's quite a bit. Another kind of issue is the homeowner starts to get, involved with how much money to invest, where do we put that money? Is it in the paint? Is it in the floors? They're oftentimes, kind of asking the realtor, hey, what do we do here exactly? And so this is something that is very common, and sometimes they hit it on the head. Other times they'll put money in places that really don't have a high ROI, and sometimes they maybe renovate it to be very personal to their liking versus potentially what the market prefers. And then in general, and I don't know how many in the room have ever done any renovations or worked with contractors before, but in general, the renovation experience is broken. And we've all heard of horror nightmare stories of contractors starting jobs, leaving them halfway through, or potentially giving a quote for a job, and then halfway through that quote doubles all of a sudden for XYZ reason. So there's a lot of unfortunate anxiety in the industry, untrustworthiness, and just overall unpredictability for the everyday homeowner. Most homeowners do not work with contractors on the daily, and so they just don't know what they don't know. And so this is kind of the general experience people are having to date. If you could change the next slide. So this is kind of what, this really, and I think, maybe Jessica touched on it earlier, but our background really comes in the form of professional investing and professional real estate flipping. That's what we were doing prior to Revive, as well as ground up construction. And so, for Revive, it's all about how do we, maximize the value of the property with the least amount of money in. And in today's market, as things are changing, it even becomes more so important to have your property stand out in the crowd as inventory is starting to rise, days on market are starting to go up. And so because of that, it is crucial. And what we're hoping to do, and some of the solutions we're trying to bring, is giving guidance to not only those realtors that maybe have no experience in renovations, but also to the realtors that have maybe already doing this in their business and have quite a bit of experience in the renovation side, to help them scale. So we're really trying to be a guide on either end. We're helping understand what renovations are going to bring the highest ROI. So we're guiding not only the agents in some areas, but also the homeowner, and helping them understand, what we're trying to do, because ultimately, it's kind of, there's a bit of an art form and a recipe for success when it comes to extracting that hidden value of your property. And so we help guide in that way. The next thing we do is we solve for, sorry, yeah, we solve for some of the construction issues that people are facing. So a lot of the pain points that people experience, I think from the outside looking in, it's easy to say, hey, Revive fronts the money and you guys get paid back at close of escrow, and that's all great, really great value there. But I think our largest value comes in the form of this supported contractor network we have created. These contractors get about 4 to 6 projects from us every month in our key markets. And so that gives us quite a bit of leverage over their time and the ability to be able to communicate for them. They actually are more of a partner with Revive than anything else. We are able to do projects at scale, which means a lot of those pain points homeowners face, such as contractor going on site and sending a crew to another job because they got a bigger job, on a bid 2 weeks later. That doesn't happen with Revive because we're keeping them well fed. They don't have to, take on bigger projects all the time. In fact, some contractors have full on split off crews just for us, which is really, really incredible. So we solve for some of those inefficiencies. Another thing that's important to note is that we're supporting their business. And what I mean by that is contractors no longer have to do sales in the upfront anymore. Contractors don't have to go and bid on 20 projects just to win one and waste their time on site. Contractors don't have to communicate during project management. Revive handles that. So there's a lot of synergy in what we do in the services we provide the contractor. And so that's essentially why, if you look at a contractor that Revive works with versus one that the seller might find on Yelp or Google, we just have so much more leverage. And, it's not a perfect process. That's why we have a project coordinator that essentially is on top of the contractor from beginning to end. But certainly that process is a lot smoother than what you would find in the common marketplace. So that's solving for the construction. And of course, the money portion I shared already. We'll front the money. We pay the contractors directly. You have up to 12 months to pay us back, or when the home sells, whichever is sooner. And that's just secured through a deed of trust. And so that deed of trust is put on the property in the amount of the contract, and that essentially is paid back at close of escrow. Of course, the common question after that's asked is, well, how does Revive make their money? And it goes right back to the contractor. The contractors, the best way to really understand the relationship is because we do so much business with them, because we support their business with our service, they are willing to give us kind of a wholesale price on their labor and materials, and then we get a retail, and then the homeowner pays a retail cost on that. And so we make our money in that arbitrage, or the difference between the two. So it's a competitive contractor bid. And of course, the value comes more in the form of time, because one thing that the contractor gives us that's different in the marketplace is we can start any project in a major market within 7 days. And for any of you that know anything about the industry right now, just with the labor market, getting a contractor to come out and give you a bid is already tough enough, let alone start in the next month or two. So that's another thing that I think homeowners get to tap into. And so that's really it as far as, the Prepare to Sell program goes. There's a lot more, I'm sure, that, questions potentially we can answer. I will put, I think maybe our chat, in the chat, we can put my contact information. But this is, I think, a quick call to action to you, to the lenders in the room. This is such an incredible tool to bring to your realtor partners. I think one thing that last time that Val mentioned was, well, what's working really well for lenders in using this and bringing more business to their pipeline. I think it's the fact that Revive is closing listings for these agents. In fact, agents are winning listings when they bring Revive to this. And it's really incredible. We take such a hands-on approach. We build relationships with the realtors. We're really, really fostering a really very, very collaborative environment. And so that's one thing that's a takeaway, guys. please don't leave this room without thinking through what realtor partners you can introduce Revive to, because if they're not doing this already, this is such a great marketing tool, which we'll get into some of those resources here later. But that is all I have, and appreciate everybody's time.
All right, thanks so much, John. This is great. I know we did have someone raise their hand at one point, so we'll open it up now for any questions for both Jessica or John. Any questions about leveraging Revive in general, any best practices? Go ahead and raise your hand if you have any more in-depth questions, so we can go ahead and bring you in to chat.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to, while those questions are coming in, I just wanted to touch on the areas that we provide that Prepare to Sell program. I mentioned Prepare to Buy is available in all 50 states. The areas that we are in with that full Revive service on the selling side is going to be all of California, the major marketplaces in Texas. We're in Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, the Seattle, Washington area, the Portland, Oregon area, and the DMV, so DC, Virginia, Maryland area. We've also rolled out just this month a Revive Lite program. That is going to be where we provide the capital. So we provide the money, the agent and the homeowner bring their contractor. And so they support the contractor, we bring the money. And so that's our Revive Lite program, available in all 50 states. And I just wanted to mention that, the Revive Prepare to Buy was really born out of Prepare to Sell. Prepare to Sell is Revive's main product, but we found that a lot of people were struggling between, well, I'd love to fix up my house, sell it fast, sell it for more, but I don't know where I'm going to go. And so we really created this Prepare to Buy program out of the need for it. And a lot of the other companies out there who are doing this were not willing to allow the client to fix up their departure residence. They weren't underwriting them based on their after renovated value. Those are all things that Revive does. And that's why the two programs do marry really well together. They can be definitely used separately, but they are wonderful when they're used together, when the client can not only make more money on their departure residence, but easily get into their next home and be out of the property for it to get fixed up. Those are my additions. And now we can get to the questions.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, we had one come through from Greg, and I think we briefly touched on this, but I've been getting pushback from realtors and clients on the 3% convenience fee compared to others in Dallas-Fort Worth market that are promoting fees of 1.5 to 2%. How can I handle this objection?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'll see if I can think of how I would answer that. So yes, there are other companies that are promoting a lower price. And what I'm finding is oftentimes that while they may be saying it's 1 or 2% up convenience fee, they're typically, what we're seeing is baking it in costs elsewhere, maybe loan costs. They're also sometimes forcing the client to use them as the lender, forcing them to use an agent, forcing them sometimes to use their title and escrow company. We take a more agnostic approach where the client really has the flexibility to do business with who they want to do business with. So I think that when you come into that situation, maybe really taking an apples to apples look at not only the cost, but everything else that comes with their program as far as their other fees, maybe their rates and other things to do with the loan. Again, for those clients, many of the other companies will not go up to 2 million. So I think you have to really take it on a case-by-case basis and see that, is this other company available in their area? Do they have a tighter buy box than Revive does? Do they go up to the purchase price that these clients are looking for? And really is it an apples to apples comparison? And then if they still decide to go elsewhere, then it probably wasn't the right fit for this program. But I think that, and then also if they want to marry this with a Prepare to Sell as well and make more money on their departure residence with no money out of pocket, that can also be another way in. So hopefully that answers that. I don't know if Val, you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that was great. And just, Greg, I don't know when you jumped on, but just what I had mentioned earlier was kind of taking the art of homeownership approach, where it's you know, you're coming to an obstacle where maybe you want to rate shop, it's kind of the same thing as rate shopping for a loan. So make sure that you're just guiding them and advising them. You know, ask for maybe to look into that other program that they're looking at to make sure, let's see where the fees are baked in. Let's make sure that everything is laid out on the table, just so you can kind of build some trust and be that genuine advisor where you're helping guide them through all their options, would be my recommendation. But everything Jessica said was spot on. So thank you. I
Yeah,
don't see any, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that, you know, Revive is here as an option, as a tool. Again, we take a very guiding approach as well. And yes, it might not always be the right fit, but you can be there for your client as the advisor to help guide them in the right direction. So I love what Val said there.
Absolutely. I don't see any other questions came through. If anyone.
I see one from Mark. He's saying, on the Prepare to Sell program, does the owner get their 10% before the split? So on that Prepare to Sell program that John was discussing, there is no cost to the client. There's no split, there's no fees. We make our money on the contractor side. So the only time we would ever split profits is on that Sell 360 product that I mentioned, where Revive goes ahead and actually purchases their down leg or their departure residence at a discount. And then when we own it, we fix it up and then split the profits. So, but on the Prepare to Sell, where the client remains the owner, no splits.
Okay, anyone else? Any hand raises, last minute questions? I'll also say, we'll make sure to get everything that was mentioned today for the recap email from the Revive team, but this was really great and thorough, so I appreciate you guys jumping on. And also just a note for everyone, some housekeeping. Next week, we will not have a webinar, so just make sure that you're referring back to the partner portal for that training schedule where you can see all of our trainings coming up. We're kind of changing it up a little bit as far as the cadence, but any general questions, you can always reach out to our support team, or the Revive team is always here for help as well. But it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So any last minute parting words, Jessica or John?
Yeah, I'll start off. Just wanted to show you a little screenshot of our marketing center. I believe that a link to this was put in the chat and will also be sent out after the call. This is a great place on our website where you can get some one-pagers, some white papers, social media posts, a lot of things that you can co-brand and help bring to your realtor partners. And yeah, that is on our website. And yeah, that's our last slide. So please take a look at that when it comes through your email. John, I don't know if you had anything to add on top of that.
Nothing on my end, guys. I appreciate everybody's time.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. This was great. And like I said, anyone has any questions, reach out to our team or the Revive team. We're both here to help. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks you both for jumping on. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.